Hi everyone, it's Ardith, and today I'm back on the Ellen Hutson blog and YouTube channel with the August installment of Innovations with Ardith. Now I know there's different opinions of the ideal timing for starting Christmas cards and other crafts, and this issue can be quite polarizing based on what I've seen on social media. I love Christmas and I love to make Christmas cards all year long. This video is full of ideas for Christmas cards and other crafts that will put you ahead of the game no matter when you start. Let's start with the basics. When I'm working on multiples, whether it's cards or gifts or tags, I find it easier to limit my supplies. I'm working with some of the new Essentials by Ellen release, holiday characters, retro holiday greetings, shipping tags, and yes, even spider webs. I also limit my colors. I chose a basic classic color scheme, green and red. I chose Lime Ricky and Rouge Catherine Pooler inks, and I used matching Copics when I was coloring. I supplemented with other colors when required. First up, let's talk Christmas cards. I posted a video on my channel this week showing how easy it really is to make multiples even of a card that has an interactive design. But let's face it, however easy the interactive card is, and I did make 8 of them in about 2.5 hours by the way, it'll still be faster with a simplified design. I challenged myself to get a similar look on a 1-layer card, and here's how I did it. I put the card base into my mini MISTI and I placed my mask over top. This mask was made with the Almost Circle from the Swing and Slide interactive die set. This was to help with the placement of the elf. I pointed him toward the nice side of the meter, but you can put him anywhere he fits. Then I picked him up with the MISTI door and I stamped him with Gina K amalgam ink and jet black, so I could use my Copics to color him. Now, I should have put a mask over him right here, and you'll see that I almost forgot until it was too late. But you won't do that. I replaced the circle mask over the elf and I taped it down with Post-it tape so I could do some ink blending. I also put a small piece of masking tape at the halfway point up at the top. This is where naughty starts turning into nice. But this is also where I realized that I needed that mask over the elf so he would look like he's sitting above the nice meter. Better late than never. I also realized I needed a mask at the bottom. And then I blended green ink over top of the open area, going really dark near the bottom and fading it up toward the top. I replaced the mask, really I just could have left it there, and then I did the same thing with the red ink on the naughty side. Next it was time to stamp the sentiment. You could make it really easy and stamp the sentiment all at once in black, but I like the look of the naughty in red and the nice in green, and I think it helps people understand the meter concept of the card. Plus, I already had done the stamp surgery, which makes it easy to do multicolor stamping. I did put the mask back over the elf so that it will look like he's over top of the naughty word, which helps make this look more dimensional. Then I stamped naughty in red. I put the nice portion of the stamp in place on the MISTI door, then removed the naughty portion. This way it'll stamp in its original form. You could try to mask this if you don't like stamp surgery, but this is the most efficient for me. And you can see that my Lime Ricky ink pad is getting a little dry. I re-inked it after I was finished. Next, I colored in the elf. This is the part that actually takes the longest. You can do as much or as little coloring as you want. Finally, to add a bit more dimension, I used a couple of toner gray markers along the left and bottom edges of the elf to make it look like shadows. So what do you think? Did I accomplish my challenge? Next, I used the new shipping tags die to create some tags. This is a simple design and this die makes it super easy to have lots on hand. It's the size of an A2 card front and it quickly cuts 4 identical tags with minimal waste. I decided to do a 2-layer tag and I cut the die twice so that I have 8 tags to work with. 4 will be the bases and 4 will be the tops. I started by scoring the tops so that they can fold back easily to reveal the to and from information on the inside. Then I blended some ink lightly on the bottom left corners of the tops, 2 green and 2 red. My red ink is so juicy I didn't even need to ink up the brush. I just used what was already on it. I faded out to the top right corner by using less pressure as I worked upward. Next, I stamped the to and from on the bases, using stamps from last year's Goody gumdrops. This outline font is classic and was used again this year in the Mondo Amaryllis set, so I can use the Joy from the new set for the tag tops. For both the bases and the tops, I lined the stamps up where I wanted them, and then I used the MISTI to stamp them repeatedly. This is one of the best features of this tool. It's easy to get the stamping in the same place every time. For this stamping, I used VersaFine Onyx Black, which is very crisp and dark. I did some more quick coloring for these snowmen. To keep coloring of multiples quick, I recommend doing all of one color at a time. So I did all the cheeks, then all the carrots, then 2 of the hats with the lighter red, then the darker red, and back to the lighter red to blend, and then 2 of the hats with green. You could skip the blending to make it a little faster, but I do like the dimension that it adds. Finally, I assembled the tags with some tape runner and popped up the snowmen with foam tape. You could make as many of these as you wanted very quickly. Once the die cutting is done, most of the rest of the work could be done while you're sitting watching TV. I added some Stardust stickles to the cheeks and hats for some sparkle, and I set them aside to dry. I added some silver twine to finish them off. Next up is a gift card holder. As my kids get older, I find myself giving more of these, and it's nice to have some fun presentation. I used the parcel box die set. This die takes less than half of a sheet, so there's room to stamp and cut out the Santa character at the same time. All the score marks are embossed onto the cardstock, and I recommend using a lighter cardstock, 80 pound or even 65 pound, so that the score lines don't crack when you fold them. And here's where the spider web comes in. I thought that it could act as a mini wreath template for decorating the top of the gift card box. I tested it out on some scrap paper, and I cut off the rest of the web so that I can place it multiple times on the boxes and get it in approximately the same place each time, and I'm not counting. Then I used an acrylic block to stamp the little present that comes in the same set. Kind of forms a little frame for Santa. Next up, some more coloring. I colored Santa's skin and hat, and I left his beard completely uncolored to keep it speedy. Then I colored the presents, alternating red and green. I used my bone folder to score the lines and some strong adhesive to assemble the little box. Definitely use strong adhesive. I did try it with my tape runner, but it just didn't cut it. To finish it off, I popped Santa up with some foam tape and I added some stickles for sparkle. It's easy to die cut and stamp a number of these to have on hand for last-minute presents. You could definitely use patterned paper to save on the stamping and coloring if you want as well. My final project is name tags for the holiday table. This is another easy project to make ahead of time, and you can have extras on hand just in case unexpected guests arrive. I'm going to personalize mine with this We Are Memory Keepers Precision Press, along with the typeset plate add-on. It comes with these little letters and number stamps in cases, 2 sizes of alphabets, some numbers, and some common symbols and punctuation, so you can create your own messages. I used the larger uppercase alphabet and I put each letter into place. Each letter stamp has grooves in the back of it that fit into the grooves on the stamping plate. I quickly put 4 together with the names of my family members. I inked up the boys' names with the Lime-Ricky ink and pressed it down. These letter stamps are a soft, rubbery material, but the ink did bead up a bit on them. I just re-stamped, but you could also condition them by rubbing over with them with your hand. Then I inked up mine and Kate's names with the Rouge ink. If you wanted to handwrite or computer print your personalization, that would be quicker. Stuart and I always find it fun to see our names in print, and these letters are easy to work with, and they do help keep the spacing very regular. Next, some more coloring. This time I used the reindeer, so I chose 2 browns and did no shading. When the coloring was finished, I used some of the smallest red droplets for their noses, and I adhered them with Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I tried my jewel picker, but I found that the rounded shape of the drops made it hard to pick them up, so I just used my fingers. For the name tags themselves, I used this rectangle die from the parcel box die set over folded craft cardstock. My first tendency was to measure and cut, but I thought I would try this method just to see how it compared. It works great, and the cards are all the exact same size without any measuring, but I think I prefer doing the math for the measuring and cutting. It's up to you. Finally, for assembly, I cut the names into strips and I glued them onto the front of each name tag. I trimmed off the excess and then popped up a reindeer on one end. I put stickles on the antlers for a bit of sparkly magic and called it done. So there it is, some fun ideas and efficiency tips for getting an early start on the holidays. I didn't measure the time I spent on each of these projects, but this whole video took less than an afternoon, so it really wasn't very time-consuming. Think how happy you'll be on December 1st when you see just how far ahead you are. You don't have to completely finish any of them either. Even just having the die cutting done or having stamped and die cut a bunch of those characters is going to put you ahead of the game when you do start. I also think that a set of any of these would be a nice present to give to a friend who loves to craft but is running short on time. Or maybe to your kids' teachers. The possibilities really are endless. I hope you enjoyed seeing these projects. What about you? What are your thoughts on holiday crafting? Do you start early, or do you work better under pressure? Do you make multiples or unique projects? We'd love to hear. Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up below and subscribe to this channel for more inspiration. Product links are below in the description and also on the blog. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.